So Samsung just dropped the brand new Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7, and if you pre-ordered this device or if you're planning to get it in the future, let me hook you up with the absolute best camera settings for photo and video so you can hit the ground running. And yes, cinematic results are guaranteed because a lot of the professional photo and video settings on these devices are turned off by default. So just watching this video will give you a huge leg up on your photo and video game using this device. This is going to be especially important on this year's Fold because Samsung has given us that 200 megapixel sensor camera, which is the same camera from the S25 Ultra as the main camera. So now the Z Fold 7 is a legit content creation device for photos and video. Now with that all out of the way, let's get into the actual settings for this device. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is you want to open up your camera app, and then you want to click more, and then you want to click Expert RAW, and this is the app from Samsung that you want to be using and taking photos in. If it's your first time opening this app, it will prompt you to install the app. Now, once you're in the app, the first thing you want to do is you want to change your image format to RAW. This is going to give you the most flexibility when you're editing your photos and you're doing any kind of post-processing editing. Next up, when you're shooting in the wide lens, which is the main lens, you want to go ahead and you want to change your resolution to 200 megapixels. Now, you're going to notice that when I switch over to 200 megapixels, the ultra wide and the telephoto lenses have both disappeared, and that's because 200 megapixels is not available in those two other cameras. So what you want to do is if you want to switch to those two lenses, you're going to go ahead and switch your megapixel count to 24 megapixels, and 24 megapixels works both with the ultra wide camera as well as the telephoto camera. So if you're shooting with anything other than the main camera, you're going to be using 24 megapixels, and then if you're shooting in the main wide camera, you're going to want to go ahead and switch over to 200 megapixels to shoot your photos. Now the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to go ahead and click ISO at the bottom, and you're going to go ahead and move that to as low as it will go. This should be 50. This is going to minimize the noise in your photos. Now this is not always a hard and fast rule, but I do think this would work 100% of the time when you're outdoors. If you're inside though, I would go ahead and change your shutter speed. I would go ahead and set this to about 1/90, and then you're just going to slowly go ahead and raise your ISO. Now you might be wondering, what am I going to raise my ISO to? And for this, you usually want to use the histogram. You can activate the histogram by tapping this icon over here, and then you're going to have this graph over here. Don't worry, it's not that complicated. You don't actually need to learn how to read it, but all you want to do is you want to continuously raise your ISO until the data in the graph is somewhat in the middle. Personally, I would cap this out at 800 to avoid introducing any additional noise, but these settings will generally get you by and do a really good job. And because we're shooting in RAW, you can go ahead and leave your white balance on automatic. I feel that smartphones generally do a pretty good job of this. Now, if you don't want to take photos in the Expert RAW app and would rather use the default camera app, let's go ahead and quickly cover that as well. So first thing you're going to want to do is you want to go ahead and you want to head into your settings. You want to go down under pictures, and you want to go ahead and you want to select advanced picture options. Here you want to go ahead and change your format to RAW format. It should be JPEG by default. I already have mine changed, but you want to go ahead and you want to select RAW. Now back on the main screen, you're going to want to go ahead and change your resolution once again to 200 megapixels if you're going to be shooting with the 1x lens. Now interestingly enough, there is this odd quirk that in the main photo app and not Expert RAW, if you go ahead and tap on 1x and then you switch to a zoom lens like the 5x, it does continue to allow you to use 200 megapixels, so you're able to actually get more resolution out of your zoom lenses if you're going to be shooting in the main photo camera app. But again, you don't have access to the ultra wide, so for ultra wide you're actually gonna have to take a downgrade down to 12 megapixels, and then it'll allow you to select the ultra wide. So a bit of an odd quirk. You get less megapixels in the ultra wide but more megapixels in the zoomed in cameras if you're using the normal photo app compared to the Expert RAW app that we just discussed earlier. Now the last thing you're going to want to change here is your exposure comp, and this is pretty easy to do. You just click this button, scroll upwards, and then hit the exposure icon, and then you want to go ahead and lower it to about -0.7, which I find is the sweet spot for most smartphones, as I do think that smartphones slightly overexpose their photos. So going down to -0.7 will give you a nice balanced image. Now it is important to note here, if you don't want to edit your photos, I recommend just using the main camera app and use JPEG as your image format. It's not the maximum quality option, but it is a simple workflow. Okay, now before we dive into the video settings for the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7, I just want to quickly talk about this video sponsor, which is Artlist. Now for those of you who have been around for a while, you know that Artlist is a long-standing sponsor of this channel, and this month they have a ton of amazing new features. But I don't want to talk about any of them. I actually want to talk about their 100K challenge. Now let me ask you a quick question. If you had $100,000, what would you create? Do you have some kind of dream project that you've just been thinking about all day, but you just don't have the funds to make it happen? Well, this might be your chance, because Artlist is literally giving away $100,000 to one visionary creator to make their creative dream project a reality, and entering is as simple as ever. All you have to do is post a video of your idea to your socials and tag Artlist. Use the hashtag Artlist100K Fund and fill out the form, which I'll leave linked in the description below of this video. And that's it. It's literally that simple. But hurry, because the submission window closes on August 14th. Honestly, this could be the big break that you've been waiting for, and this is an opportunity that I would have jumped at if I was just starting my creative career. I feel like it just would have skyrocketed me right away to where I am now, and it could help you out as well, getting to where you want to be on your creative journey. Anyways, huge shout out to Artlist for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to the settings for video on the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7. Okay, now let's head into our video settings, and let's do the max quality option first. In your camera app, hit more and then head over to Pro Video. Now here's what you're gonna want to do right off the bat. Set your video resolution to UHD, which is 4K, and you want to go ahead and you want to select 30 frames per second for a more natural looking video. If you want ultra smooth, you can also go ahead and select 60 frames per second if that's more your vibe and what kind of video you're going for. Now you might also be wondering, why not go all out and use 8K? You can, but I find the 8K looks a little unnatural, and you should really only use it outdoors in perfect conditions. Now, if you know how to color grade, I would go ahead and enable log video. If you don't know how to color grade, then you can just simply select HDR, which is also 10-bit this year on the Z Fold 7, which is a massive upgrade. For the video settings, I would actually leave the settings at the bottom on automatic, except for the EV value, which similarly to photos, you want to go ahead and lower to about -0.7. Again, you have the same notorious overexposure issue, and because you don't have ND filters on this phone, going with advanced video settings can get a little bit difficult to manage. Okay, now we're going to jump into some more advanced video settings. So you want to go ahead and tap on this icon here and then click on the settings gear icon. Then you want to scroll over to video and click on advanced video options. Make sure that your video format is set to HEVC and not H.264. If you do this, you're actually going to lose out on both log video and that HDR 10-bit video that's introduced on this phone this year. So make sure that your video format is set to HEVC. Then you want to go ahead and also turn on high bitrate videos to make sure that you're capturing the most data possible. This does take up more space on your phone, so just be wary of that. Now, once you have this set up, you want to go back, you want to scroll down, you want to turn on tracking autofocus as well as composition guide. This is going to help you level and make sure that your entire shot is in focus and framed appropriately. And then finally, you want to scroll down into settings to keep, and you want to turn all of these on. Most of these are going to be off by default. I already have all of these turned on, but there's nothing more annoying than setting up all of your settings in your camera app just the way you like them, leaving the app, and then coming back to find out that everything has been changed and you have to change everything all over again. So this just ensures that your camera settings are going to stay the exact same every single time you open the camera app. Now, if you don't want to film in Pro Video and you just want to use regular video, you definitely can. It's a much more simpler workflow and you don't have to worry about filming in log. And speaking of log, the settings are actually identical. The only thing you lose out is log video if you don't use the Pro Video mode. So if you're just using the regular video mode, I recommend all the same settings with HDR video turned on for that 10-bit depth. And my last little tip is actually for selfies. Now, personally, I would never use a selfie camera on this phone, and I would make use of the folding capabilities. If you tap on this icon on the top right, this enables the cover screen preview, and because you have a folding phone, you can actually turn this around and you can make use of the screen on the front. This is obviously not something that you would be able to do with a non-foldable. And now you can actually use your main camera, which is your 200 megapixel camera, to take selfies and have the maximum quality possible. Again, this is obviously not something that you would be able to do on a non-folding phone. So if I was you, I would just go ahead and make use of this entire capability that you have with the Galaxy Z Fold 7. And that's it. Those are my best camera settings for photo and video on the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7. Hopefully you got everything you're looking at from this video, and these settings really help you level up your game if you're planning to get this device. Anyways, that's it for this video. I'll see you on the next one, and until then, keep creating.